What's up, YouTubers? It's going down. Like, share, and subscribe. You probably don't even know what you're watching. Unless you use my YouTube channel. This is a channel dedicated to the truth. Yeah, what's the truth? I've seen a lot of opinion pieces lately. And then we're going to get down to basics of what's why, the whys, and all that stuff. So I've seen a lot of opinion pieces recently. I just read two today. One was of somebody that just went to a big Miami Expo for advisors and coaches and consultants. Notice something very specific. It's like a lot of advisors there. I mean, how many coaches and consultants are out there, right? Everything you see out there is all about coaching and consulting. Everyone's trying to advise each other on what they should or shouldn't be doing, or healing each other, right? Why do we need so many healers? And what's the point, right? What's the deeper issue? There's always a deeper issue there. And so I just made the comment on one of these posts, especially that one, because they were trying to sell an ICF certification. How are certifications going to make you a better coach, right? Or a consultant? You're going to go to another consulting company that hands out certifications so that you can become more certified at consulting, right? Maybe, how to, manage your emotional states and ask the right questions to trigger the right emotional responses to, help people grow and learn about themselves. Growing's really easy. You water yourself and you allow your body to heal, and then you pull the weeds. The things that's siphoning your energy, that's, if you're super active and you're pouring energy into, getting yourself out there, you'll get results. There's no question. It's not rocket science. You just work for yourself and then figure out what. Some people are better at some things than others, right? But usually you'll focus on what you're attuned to and you'll be successful. Doesn't matter who you are. So I just made the comment, well, you guys are seeing, because there's trust in the industry right now, a severe lack of trust, because people are getting advice from advisors and it's not getting results, right? Doesn't matter how much, and then there was another article about AI. Doesn't matter how much you plug AI into your system. You can't milk a milkless cow. If the cows suck dry, what do you, AI ain't going to help you milk a cow, right? If there's no milk to be had. So, yeah, it's a hierarchical system. Every hierarchical system is built on the premise of siphoning off the bottom layer, right, to put more energy into the top. Hence Illuminati. That's the purpose behind that even symbol on the back of the dollar bill. They're telling you what they're using the dollar bill to do, to siphon energy into these people who say, oh, we're illuminated. Illuminated to what? That you're a freaking vampire? Right? Do you vampire everybody there? So, even healing can be very vampiristic if you're calling yourself a healer. And people, you can give people temporary states of healing. But if you don't continue to treat them equally, you've got to do it in a way where you're just open to receive. Because if you're doing it a mandatory thing, then you're actively siphoning. So what would be the long term? If everybody's got to go through a process to become a healer, because they were getting siphoned off of working for somebody else. I just had this conversation with my dad. He pays $80 a month for dental insurance. Dental insurance is the worst thing you can pay for. There is no way that dental insurance is worth it. For one thing, I get 2 cleanings a year, one every 6 months. Costs me, I think they charge me somewhere like $180 to $250 per cleaning. That's $500 a year for cleaning. If you're paying $80 a month, that's $960 a year. That's $1,000 a year that you're probably applying maybe less than half of it to your cleanings now, but that's all they're covering. They're not covering if you need a filling or something else. Then they charge you extra for those things. So every form of dental insurance, actually every insurance, if it's insurance, it is toxic because you're creating a middleman to pay, that siphons off of you, that has to pay that's paying the provider of whatever it is. So you will always pay more for insurance than the actual thing that you need to pay for. Auto insurance is the worst. And the reason that they made auto insurance, mandatory back in the late or in the early 90s, I remember when this happened, because I think it was right before I got my driver's license, which was in 1991. So it was like 1989 or 1990 in Washington State where they required everyone to have at least liability insurance, because people were running into each other, and there was a lot of people that couldn't. Cars had just gotten to the point where cars were expensive enough where people couldn't pay for damages anymore out of the pocket. The average, the lowest income people, right? If you were at poverty level, or even on welfare, let's say you were making $20,000 a year back then. I don't know what poverty was back then. It's probably $15,000 per year or something like that, or $20,000 per year. You couldn't pay out of your pocket to pay for somebody's car that got smashed, right? And then as soon as you created insurance and the loan thing, it's just a middleman that's taking money just by being a middleman. A bank doesn't serve any purpose other than to be a middleman for the energetic transaction between you and I. And then they pull so they can make everything way more expensive, right? Because they're just siphoning off the community. They're not providing anything of value. Insurance doesn't provide anything of value. Now people's minds get twisted there. Oh yeah, they'll save you in case something happens. Like, what are you afraid of? Fear and unforgiveness is what creates debt. That's why it exists. If something happens and you're not able to forgive and let it go, then things will keep happening to you. For sure. It's a spiritual thing. You're in a spiritual battle with yourself and everything around you. But because there's so much things siphoning off of people, right? Whether it's, which is why car prices went up so much. The price of going to college went up astronomically because they started giving out free student loans. Everybody should be able to go to college. So we'll give you an interest-free loan or a low-interest loan that you can pay back over 20 years, so you can go pay $150,000 to go to the school that used to cost. I went to Washington State University in 1993, and I paid $1,200 for tuition per semester. It's $2,400 a year in 1993. By the year 2000, it had either quadrupled. I think it was $10,000 a year or something like that. Maybe it was $12,000. It went up astronomically, just boom, like that. The 90s were almost hyperinflation because of booming computer market, right? All those new jobs into software and hardware exploded, right? Huge bubble. Part of the bubble popped in 2000, if you guys remember. Some of you might not be old enough, right? I mean, this was 25 years ago. So a different bubble popped around 2000 to 2002 versus, the bubble we're seeing now. The bubble we're seeing now is actually finally getting to the place where you cannot keep creating systems to siphon off of more people. You can't keep working for more. That's why there's so many consultants and coaches in the industry. That's why there's so many people that are just leaving their jobs because they're tired of working for somebody else. So they got to work for yourself. What are you going to do? Are you going to advise me No, you got to get creative, right? You got, and so as an individual, that's why you see so many YouTube channels and tarot card readers, because it's a spiritual battle, right? It's a spiritual, you enter into a spiritual battle when you go to work for yourself and everything's trying to siphon off of you. And all you're trying to do is love people and do what you're asked, which is a spiritual truth. Always love one another and do what you're asked, and you'll always be protected. The organism, if it tries to kill you, it will kill itself because it's trying to sacrifice the thing that's trying to help it, the thing that's trying to create equal exchanges of energy within the system. So everything you're seeing is the vampire starving out the host, right? It's a parasitic life form that's been a parasite for too long. It's finally starving out. It's starving itself out. So any kind of hierarchical system will starve itself out in the long run. It can't survive. And so the only way to not be parasitic is to create together and share in the things that you create together. It's the only way to keep from being parasitic. It's actually, you actually create a, it looks like a crystal. Many spiritualists have already seen this in the future, right? You're creating, will become more crystalline beings. But you'll never be a crystalline being until you manifest the way that we work together in a crystalline matrix. So what's a crystalline matrix? A crystalline matrix is just a structure that's evenly distributed, that has each individual atom is connected in a way that allows more energy to move through each individual atom than it would have been connected in any other way. That's why crystals are so powerful. Crystals are an insulation. They can hold a lot of energy, like a silicon dioxide, or germanium dioxide. Any one of those things individually, that molecule can hold a lot of energy, but it can't by itself. It's fairly insulated. It has a high insulation value, unless you connect it in a crystalline matrix, which allows you to move a lot of energy in the system and hold a lot of information at the same time. We build computers to do that, right? But those computers are kind of slowing down because we're getting down to a 2 nanometer process, and we can't. That's another issue. But you'll see we will move into more light-based computers in a very short term, because that's the only path forward. You can't keep making silicone chips. We're running at the limit of what we can do with silicone, theoretically. 2 nanometers, when as soon as you get to, a molecule thick transistor, it's one molecule transistor, ain't getting any smaller, right? It's just not gonna. So quantum computing and all that stuff is gonna start showing up. But let's go back to the bigger picture. The bigger picture is that the parasite can't keep siphoning off the organism. We could, theoretically, let's all become healers, and then we're charging each other money to heal each other. That would never work, right? Be like, no, because then it's just a feedback loop. Then everything you're doing, then we're not creating anything, right? Then everything else that we're trying to create goes bye-bye. Utilities, building houses, anything that you can think of right now that we enjoy recreationally, that we should be able to enjoy recreationally without being attached to it. The attachment is the problem. If we're attached to something, then it's pulling us there in an unhealthy way. Video games are a prime example. And there are some fun games out there to play, but if it feels like you have to do that thing to make yourself happy, it's a negative emotional attachment, right? Unhealthy. And there's a lot of games that are pretty unhealthy out there. If all you're doing is just playing first-person shooters and just shooting each other all day, it's not good for you. It's just not. It's toxic because it creates an imbalance in your mind. You're creating egoic persona that makes you better at slaughtering people than other people. My trigger finger is faster, and I can move my controller and point in this place faster than somebody else. It's toxic. It really is. My friend, my son's 17, and I grew up seeing Fortnite evolve, and I plugged a lot of time into that game just because it was fun. It was something new, and it was fun to play with because it was, you could build things. And but you play with certain people and it gets super toxic, because if they're always trying to compare, or they're getting mad at you because you're not performing or something like that, it gets super toxic, right? It's just a game. It's supposed to be recreational and fun. And if it's not fun, and it's not recreationally fun, and it becomes competitive, it ain't fun. Life ain't fun when it gets competitive, right? It will always be competitive if you're trying to structure it in a hierarchy, because the ones at the top get more than the people at the bottom. You cannot structure in a hierarchy and have it be a healing environment. I heard somebody doing a psychic reading yesterday about healers and healers that come, and then warning against cults. A cult is something that is hierarchical. Every cult is hierarchical. So there's going to be people, especially because the community organism doesn't have any choice, and I am going to actively start writing about it and then just throwing it out there. People aren't going to be able to ignore it. As soon as I write this and start throwing it out there and start pushing it in the group collective, you can't ignore it. There's no way that you'll ever be able to create a hierarchy that's not a cult. Everything that we do right now is cultic. Everything. And it's about worshiping a means of exchange to make sure that I get what I want in my pocket and don't care about what's in yours. Right? It has to be that. That's what money creates. Making sure that I got what I need, irregardless of what you have. Does the person at the coffee stand, are they concerned about the people that go through the drive-thru that's paying them per coffee? No. How could you be, right? You would be if you were doing it altruistically. You'd make sure those people's needs are met, because if they're not, they ain't going to be able to meet your needs. You understand what I'm saying? The writing is on the wall. And it's coming very fast. This is 2025. By 2032, in 2 years, we're going to see big changes by fall of this year. I believe the harvest is this year, this fall. August, September. It's just a natural time for it, right? Everything's coming to a head. Nobody needs advisors. People need people to create with and love. That's the only way you're going to create a balanced heart chakra, is by sharing time together and creating for one another in a balanced way. Let all those people die in their old hierarchies. They will. A hierarchy will kill you. Because in both situations, where you're the person siphoning energy or you're the one being siphoned, it's a negative situation for you. The end of that is death. Psychologically, emotionally, physically. It's all death, right? That's the end of that is death. Okay, I went on my rant today. I don't ever hear anybody else speaking of this. So in a lot of ways, it's hard to talk about, and I hear, all this stuff about manifest your life of abundance and manifest money and all this stuff. And it's just like, oh God, all you guys got to do is love one another, right? And share time together. And do your best, because it's not a cult, right? Anything that's equally distributive is communal in nature and not cultic. Yeah. All we have now are cults, right? The business model is a cult. Somebody has to sell you the idea that you got to work for them or die. Actually, it's just like everything else. That's what actually kills you. is going to work for somebody else instead of working for yourself as much as you're working for the people around you. Awaken. Thank God, this is a good card. Awaken. Think about what's happening around you, right? I'm going to pull 3 tarot cards and give you guys, we're going to do a message and see what you guys need to hear. Death cards on the bottom, right? Need to die to old ways of thinking. There are a lot of cults out there whose sole purpose, a cult's sole purpose, is to siphon energy into a small group of people's hands. That's why you form a cult, right? It could be a sexual cult. They're trying to siphon all the sexual energy from the people around them. Orgies, right? Women have very attractive women have a hard time with that because, for one thing, men naturally will have a disposition of having a negative emotional attachment to the way some very attractive woman looks. So you'll end up being a false delusion of reality of who you are from your identity standpoint when everybody's ogling at you, right? And then you can start creating a living by doing that. Very self-destructive. It'd be a very hard thing to overcome. I thought about this, if you're a very attractive girl growing up, it'd be hard to deal with. You really got to be grounded in yourself and understand who you are in order to really, do what you need to do for yourself without fall into some kind of delusional mindset, right? Like, there's just abundance everywhere for everybody. All you got to do is just be online, right? I mean, a little bit toxic. Hermit. Lovers. Strength. Be strong. Trust yourself. Trust the light within. Tame the beast nature within yourself, because the beast wants to feed. It's not a natural thing to want to feed off of your environment. You got to look at your own beast in the mouth and tame it. That is the never-ending process for maintaining strength, because you'll always fall down when you can't tame your beast nature. That's why this strength card looks like that. And you're marrying the mental and emotional parts of yourself to reveal your higher nature, right? You have to understand it intellectually and then feel it emotionally and have care for the system, because the system, it's a big organism trying to figure out who they are. And if they don't do this, you got to tame the nature and say, I'm not going to lift myself up over other people to try and feed some kind of beast-like mentality. And trust your inner light and your inner guidance. Awaken. Love you guys. Have a beautiful day. And I'll catch you on the next one.